Everybody, let's talk about week 4 recap. It is Sunday night. There's still a game going on. The Bucks are going to have to make some kind of comeback because they're already down 14 points, it looks like, to the Chiefs. Chiefs been off to a spectacular offense for the game tonight. So it looks like this is going to be a loss. We'll check in on it as we get through the video. But I want to talk about the games. We're going to talk about, is there anything we can learn from this? What is this looking like? Let's just go. The good thing about NFL is that we get to really, like, there's enough action where you can kind of pay attention to almost every single game, and it's not too much because it's just like a Sunday, right? Sunday and a Monday, and maybe a Thursday. So let's talk about what has happened just today, because we had a really good day on Thursday, but let's talk about today. So it's looking like 5-8, and I'll talk about spread picks in a minute. Let's not even talk about this right now. Let's talk about projected score, really, is what we care about. Care about just this one. So we're 5-8, but we have wins at the top. And wins at the top and not wins at the bottom, especially on a game like Cleveland and Atlanta, where the alternate project score predicted Atlanta. Losses down here are not necessarily as bad because the algorithm is saying those are closer games. And when you predict every game, not every game is a great pick, but is going to give you a pick on the game. So let's start top down, first of all. Philadelphia has proven that they are a really good team, and Jacksonville has also proven that they should not be scoffed at. There's a reason why they shut out the Colts and beat them. They're a pretty good team. They jumped off to a lead, but the Eagles are just too strong, and they managed to cover on top of that. So I will actually look at the cover for a second, because I do kind of want to see who covered up top. And the Eagles cover and they win and they come back. There was a point in the game when Jacksonville's up 14-0 that you could have got the Eagles at plus 175. I saw one of those things where the algorithms got them on top. If they start off losing the game, you are supposed to bet them, right? So that worked out great. Eagles are a winner all the way across the board and proven that they deserve to be an undefeated team still at 4 now. Indianapolis, on the other hand, and I have a lot to talk about in this game. I didn't watch the game. I wish I did, so I had a better idea of what happened here. But Tennessee got off to a lead and never let it up. And on top of that, Tennessee had not won a game yet. Okay, Tennessee is right here. Sorry, they had won a game. They're 1-2. Now, I was going to say that the algorithm is going to have a little bit of what's called regression to the mean days early on in the season, when we're using nothing but 2022 stats. We're using only the 3 games that have happened. So it is discounting Tennessee a little more than you would have thought, because they were a really good team last year, and maybe they just got off to a rough start. Indianapolis has been really choppy. They got shut up by Jacksonville, yet they beat the Chiefs. Like, weird stuff, right? Tough team to predict, and I don't like them. So the only thing to keep you away from them was me, which is not good. You don't want to listen to me. You want to listen to the algorithm. So the algorithm gets this wrong, doesn't get the over, doesn't get anything going on in this game. I don't know what to say other than it's a regression to the mean day for the Titans, and it looks like it was one for the Raiders as well. But it wasn't for like Houston or something. The Chargers walk all over Houston. So why the odds makers essentially did better than us on these 2 games, because they had the Colts at only minus 180 and the Chargers at minus 250, and the Chargers win and cover pretty convincingly, only giving up points late, and Indianapolis never has a chance. So this is the algorithm getting this wrong. And I can try to dig in to, were there a lot of questionable players or something on Indianapolis? Nope. There's really no reason that this is up here, and that's a loss for the algorithm. So you just got to call it what it is, which is not a good pick. And I don't like seeing it up there on top in the second pick of the day, but that's a loss and I don't like it. So if anybody can tell me why this happened from watching the game, where the algorithm got this wrong, I'd like to know. Could just be regression to the mean because it's early. All right, fine. Giants, more good stuff. Look at this. 2013, 2012. Wow. Perfect. That's about as good. It makes me want to raise the magnifier just slightly. Another thing I want to talk about, the magnifier issue. And I'll leave it at 4.255 because that's what I left it at for what we did. But clearly I lowered the magnifier significantly because we have some more games in the schedule and there are more players that played, but it's still early. And this magnifier, there's two things that go into these point projections that are toggleable variables. One is the magnifier, which I apparently had a little low today, even though it did some weird things with these games, but the rest of them you could tell were low. So we're going to mess with it in a second. But looking at the top down, there's this, and then there's another thing, okay, which is this thing, which is, I said this will be 35 midway through the season. This thing needs to get messed around with too, because it's too early and you have to standardize the ratings because the team's ratings are a little skewed. So if I adjust this to 55, for example, and refresh, what does that do? Well, I mean, not much. It's difficult to understand their impacts completely, but let me just say that there's some work to be done as we mature into the season. This obviously gets better as the season goes on, which is something to get excited about, but it is a bit nerve-wracking early on as I try from historical, just remembering every year how this works, trying to toggle it along the way. And I'm doing my own subjective analysis, but there's a lot of subjective inputs in here. So I'm doing the best I can. And I apologize when it's not perfect and we should have done better. Now, Giants were basically perfect. So let's just call that an awesome win. I call this a win too, which is even though we had this Green Bay game lower in points, our points were screwed up. And it's because we're early in the season, I think. They were screwed up. Our point totals were really screwed up today, and they were not anything to applaud. But our wins losses were pretty good up top. So we have the Packers winning it, but the Patriots almost won this game. And of course, the 9.5 points, never in doubt. So of course the Packers don't cover, but we didn't think the Packers were going to cover. We thought the Patriots were going to cover, and they did. So I call this a win as well. Next, Chargers. It said that they would barely cover, actually, it said. I didn't look at it that way. I glossed over this game when talking to Katrina today. I'm an idiot. I mean, this was a clear one and they cover, and it's a miss and not putting it on the ticket, but that's a win. Tampa Bay is getting blown out right now. I'll double check the score right now just to double check. And it says that the score is still 31-17 with 9.5 minutes still only left. There's a lot of game left, but they are losing, and we'll call it a loss. We'll don't never count Brady out, but there you go. Next, the Jets that moved all the way up here. I, of course, never, ever play the Jets, and the Jets win. Higher scoring game. You can see our magnifier or something screwed up here. We should have a few more points in this game. And these are low scores, and they all went over that. So that will fix itself as we get later in the season. But that's clearly what happened here, and it screwed up some of our point totals. So, but they do win, and they win by 4, and there's a good underdog line there. So this stuff where projected margins of victory. Look at this, right? Once you get a cutoff at about 5. You go 4-1 when it said they were going to win by 5 points or more. 3 points or more, you go 5-2. And let's talk about the Ravens game, which you lose, but you push on the 3 points, and you win if you had plus 3.5 points like early in the week. So poor Lamar Jackson. I love the guy. I love the guy. I love the story. I love his attitude. I love his honesty. I think he's great for the NFL and he's a great player, but man, does he mess up at the worst time sometimes. And that is going to be a great story if and when he overcomes that and wins the big game. But man, interception down deep when this game's tied 2020. Josh Allen takes over and runs a 6'5" body down the field, and they get a field goal and they win by 3. Heck of a game. I it kind of fits itself properly in the order of the algorithm. You think about it, they almost won, could have ended up pushing on the spread. So you see things start to change over here. Then you get into the bad stuff and you wonder why these teams were favored, because common sense didn't say Seattle over Detroit. It didn't really say that. It still said Detroit. So they have no defense, zero defense. And that's a problem. Seattle just I mean, this game, I was talking about take the under, take the under, take the under. This is the first game ever in NFL history to have the final total be 48-45. I heard that stat and I believe it. 93 total points, blows it out of the water. When Ken says he loves the under, you get the hell away and you bet the alternate over. That is obviously what happens there. So funny. I laugh it off. It's funny, but our points were screwed up, and boy, was there no bigger example than right there. But at least we had Detroit way down here. Notice they're minus 175. So they're supposed to be above the Jets. They're supposed to be above the Ravens that push on the cover. They're supposed to be above the Bucks, who are losing, actually. They're supposed to be above the Giants that we predicted perfectly, right? So they're supposed to be higher, and they lost. So in that sense, we beat the odds makers on that one. And they have no defense is the story there. So they lose. The Commanders, this one, common sense said Dallas wins this game, in my opinion. And in Dallas, especially, don't know why it favored the Commanders. Can't figure it out. I'll have to dig into that. I hope it doesn't do that again if we rerun that simulation for next week. Sucks. They really, I felt they were ahead a little bit early, but that was it, and they weren't winning. Their defense was getting run over, and their offense was nothing. So hate this pick and don't like the algorithm. Put that there. At least it was way down here, but don't like it. Panthers. The algorithm continues to lose when projecting games with Arizona. I think we are like 0-4 or 1-3 this season predicting Arizona Cardinals games with the algorithm. Boy, has it been screwed up. Carolina, terrible turnovers late in this game. They were ahead and they blew it. Sucks. Not good, but it is down on the list. This Cleveland Atlanta game, I say okay here. I mean, we have Atlanta winning in the alternate score right here. 22, 30, 33, 22. They win 23-20. And they were ahead most of this game. And Cleveland actually came back and Atlanta still won. So I'm okay with this prediction. And then Denver doesn't lose. And the Raiders that were 0-3, there's your adjusting to the mean day for the Raiders that hadn't won a game. They won a game. And at least this was way down here. So there are okay things to see from this. Top down, not bad. And we'll figure out why this stuff happened. And hopefully it'll clean itself up in week 5. And Monday night, let's look at where the Rams are in the whole scheme of things. The Rams are right here. So you can see it's right at the cutoff where it's close, but they're plus 110. And there was oh no, sorry, we don't like the Rams. What's the alternate score say? Alternate score says barely Niners is what the alternate score says. And our scores have been low and screwed up. So do we want to adjust the magnifier up to like 5? Because that makes more sense. What happens if we, all right, first of all, let's go back for a second. I want to show you how we did against the spread today. So against the spread, which is this one right here, we unfiltered everything and now we click spread pick yes. We went 7-7, but we did win at the top. And the rule is the stuff at the top is the stuff that's more, oh, sorry, we don't have this Monday game yet. We're 6-7, but we win 4-3 in a push, 4-2 in a push in the top 7. And then some down here, but this is a bad chunk right here. Okay. So opening up this again and clearing and filtering. Greater than projected margin of victory is greater than 0. You see you have the Rams here, but it's a toss again because of the Niners and there's injuries. So it's actually a pretty tough game and the algorithm doesn't really know. As you can see where it is on this list. And that's why the lines are kind of iffy and our points were kind of screwed up. So I'm going to up the magnifier for a second to 5. And now when we up magnifiers and stuff, when we unfilter again, now we can start to see how do we do against the spread with different magnifiers. Okay, watch this. We're still 7-7. What about a magnifier of 3? 7-8. Wait, get that Monday game out of there. 6-8. What about a magnifier of 6? 6-7. All right, so it doesn't change all that much. What would change is our total point predictions and how they did. And I can build in some formulas to check whether or not we won the over under prediction so that we can get a win loss based on that. I think it's actually important. Betting points is more gambling than betting on winners, but there's value there. That's kind of the rule, is that the lines for over unders can be much better. So when you're wagering and looking for good lines, over unders and a lot of times make a lot of sense in that sense. So we'll talk about that more, but yeah, I mean, I'm not very happy. I lost money. I lost money today because I went through the picks with Katrina and we just didn't hit enough of them. Staying away from the Chargers, that was a freebie we let go. We did stay away from the Colts though, so that was nice. And the Ravens not winning, and the unders, the stupid over unders really hurt bad. This was not an under. This was not an under. This was not an over. Points were all screwed up, So the points kind of hurt us, but win loss was not that bad up top, even though it's 38-17 now, Kansas City. So they are running away with it, and it's going over. Another thing that we didn't predict, we had an under in this Tampa Bay game. We had 33 points. There's already 55, and they already crushed the over. So not good on the points, but that is something that will get better as this file matures. All right, throughout the season. So good luck, everyone. I hope your picks won. I hope you found some good ones. I hope you somehow almost got this exact score and won some picks. All right, good luck.